It's been a long time since I've turned on my camera. I hate when my favorite YouTubers take a long time to post because I'm like, hello, did you forget about me? I did not forget about you. Actually, I thought about you every single day and would beat myself up every single day if I didn't have the energy or the strength to turn on my camera. It has been a really rocky road since I posted the documentary, and honestly, like 2024 was a tough year for me. It had a lot of highs and lows. Life has a lot of great things and not so great things, as it does, but I think I've just been in this victim mindset for a little bit now, and I don't know, I just didn't feel like I was together enough to come on here and talk to you, completely forgetting about the fact that the reason I started making videos on Instagram and, talking to you all formally was to document the day-to-day process of mental health and spirituality. It completely defeats the purpose of my initial mission to only talk to you when I'm doing okay. But here we are. January was a really tough year. And I say that because there's a lot of jokes online saying January feels like 1,000 days long. And I totally resonate with that. I was so caught up with work, like my 9-to-5 job. I would log in super early and not log off until 6:30, 7 o'clock. Then it becomes really dark outside, and then I have to start making dinner, and then the evening is there, and then I'm too tired to even start talking. It was just like that on repeat, not just because of work, but I've just not been doing okay. I'm mentally very drained, mentally very exhausted. I feel sad a lot of times, and today honestly is the first day that I feel kind of normal. And I hate to say this is why, but I think this is why. Last night I went and got a haircut, I got my eyebrows done, I got my nails done for the first time, which I posted a whole 10-minute long video on TikTok about why this is such a big deal to me. So yesterday I had the most extra day ever, extra evening ever. The last few months have been so bad for me. I feel annoyed and guilty that the only reason I feel okay right now is because I took care of my physical appearance, when I've spent the last 3-4 years learning how to devalue the physical creations of this world. My husband literally had to remind me this morning. He was like, do you still enjoy nature? Do you still love looking at the moon? Do you still love mountains and trees? Okay, you do, right? So then why are you shaming yourself for liking... My freaking battery died! 1 second, guys. Apologies if the framing is slightly different. It was such a debacle to get my charger because I couldn't find a cable to go into my camera. I had to ruin my cable management in my desk area. Anyway, if we care about nature and we find that to be a superior materialistic thing to care about, then it kind of defeats the purpose, and we're still living in that duality. And I think that's the lesson that I took from what my husband was saying to me. It's silly to shame ourselves for finding pleasure in materialistic things and valuing one materialistic thing higher than another. I got all of this because I got my nails done. I'm not okay. I wrote down a list of things that I wanted to talk to you about today. 2024 for me was such a tough year because I feel like I was finding my footing here on YouTube. I was kind of redefining a lot of things for myself, like the Indian Standards purpose, my 9-to-5 job. My husband and I were really starting to learn each other, we're about to be married for 2 years in May. So I think investing my time in that relationship and making sure that our marriage was, on a good foundation, finding my footing in living with him and learning him and understanding him and him understanding me. Everyone says, the first couple years of marriage is really hard. And I'm really thankful that him and I took that, implemented communication between us where misunderstandings and those kinds of sort of conflicts don't arise. It's not to say that we never disagree. We talk all the time, so constantly we are disagreeing. Even though we've been friends and known each other for 9 years, I think there's still, new levels to a person, and we're always learning and growing. I'm just really thankful that I spent the time learning him. I feel like I'm learning now how to prioritize my own interests, you don't even realize that, okay, like several days have gone by and I haven't done one thing to nurture my own mind or nurture my own body, nurture my own spirit. Like at the end of the day, like you can go and work out with your best friend and, you know, they can motivate you, but like you have to go to the gym. Like you have to make the decision within yourself to prioritize your health. Same thing, like, you know, mentally, like you have to prioritize your own consistent education. You have to prioritize your own spirituality. And while you can have people around you to encourage you, like I'm so lucky that my husband is like the most encouraging person. I feel super safe saying whatever I want to say in front of him and being exactly as I am. And I still have to make that decision for myself to be exactly as I am. So I kind of had to like figure that out and be like, okay, like you haven't really done anything for yourself. Like you've done a lot for your relationship and he's done a lot for you. And, you know, but like, are you actually taking care of yourself, your spirit, your mental state? And I think the answer was no. All of that was to sort of set the scene and set the stage to what I'm about to share with you, and that is a January recap of spiritual lessons. A lot of people do like, and I really enjoy these videos of like beauty favorites for the month or book favorites of the month. I thought it would be fun for me to do like spiritual lessons of the month, and I have 5 that I want to talk through. The first one is As Above, So Below. And I have a planner from the company Magic of I. I never really took a second to process what these words meant. And when sitting back and realizing the grandness that was this universe, right? Like we can say as above, so below, so simply. We're on Earth right now. And if you go deep into the ocean, you start to feel a lot of pressure, right? So you're going deeper and deeper and deeper. And as you feel super pressured, you start to see only darkness, right? And in that darkness, you start to kind of see twinkly little white lights at the bottom of the ocean. You go up, you go into space, and you go really, really, really high up, and then the pressure starts to build, and then all you see is darkness, and then all you end up seeing are twinkly little white lights. The deep sea and outer space are so paralleled. So as above, so below is a beautiful way of talking about fractals. Mahavishnu sort of indicates and is like a representation of the multiverse. And when we started to think about that, I just sort of felt very, very, very small in the best way possible. And that all of the fractals are also representative of me, a human. Like my Atma is, you know, an elemental structure of unknown. We don't really understand what the Atma is made out of, but we know that it's the tiniest little thing. We know that it's super, 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 super small. And, you know, when you think about the vastness of the world, right, the biggest thing, God, right, we're essentially like a part of God. And we can see that by the fact that our Atma is made up of similar components that God is made up of. And it's not to say that we have the same gunas as God, because obviously we're not able to create or destroy. And I think that it brought a lot of focus back to me to realize what it is I'm really here for, and it's to advance my Atma. It's so easy to say these spiritual words. The English language is so limiting. Language can be so limiting. And I think the English language in particular has only a finite amount of words to describe a phenomenon. And, you know, in actuality, spirituality is, you know, we can circle around all these words, have a lot of word vomit, and come to a singular point of spirituality being the most silent experience. And it's ironic that we spend a lot of time trying to describe the phenomenon that is spirituality and experiencing God, when in reality, it's the most quiet, most peaceful thing. And I think that sense of sort of duality, is it duality, is it not duality, is it just an experience that is so compounding, that is so rich with multidimensional facets, that it can be both, right? It can be both very quiet, very still, super profound. And also, as we're reaching this area of, well, hopefully reaching a point where we can actually truly experience God, there's a lot of words and hills and leaps to get there. So I think The concept as above, so below, I'm still wrapping my head around it. I'm still integrating that into my life. But the way that I've learned to integrate it is to understand how massive this universe is, how small we are, but also how big we are, and how our actions can have a rippling effect, and do have a rippling effect. The world is in a very pivotal point politically. There's a lot of evidence that we are not in the best part of the timeline, and this is the Kali Yuga, and I hope you watched my documentary because I think it really details sort of the nuances of Kali Yuga that we don't explore, and I hope that it was representative, and I hope that you understood what I was trying to get at, because the issues that we brought up in that documentary were complicated. And this world is very complicated, but also very simple, because the political climate is a toxic one. It's a sad one, and it's unfortunate that so many people in power are ignoring you and I. And it's unfortunate that this world is comprised of the 1% making all of the decisions. And unfortunately, we are forced to be in that system, or natural selection will kick us out. I think we need to find a way to tread with kindness and remember that every word that we speak, every action that we take, our soul is listening. Karma is a very real concept, and as long as we do our best to take the best actions that we can and be the best versions of ourselves that we can sort of ensure that we will be creating a positive effect for others, because that's the whole point. The whole point is to advance your Atma, and to do that, you keep community in mind. And I was gonna say and treat yourself like you would treat others. We forget that we are people too. It's important to take care of ourselves. And in the process, we sort of make ourselves out to be this martyr, and we sacrifice our own happiness, our own life, our own excitement for the sake of others. And I want you to remember all the times where you did that, where you forgot yourself, where you put yourself last, because it doesn't actually serve society. You are people too. You care about people, you are people too. And it is important to remember that and allow for yourself to have so much love for your own self and let that love overflow, and that overflow is experienced by others. I hope to be the type of parent that loves myself so much that my children learn from that. And I want to set an example of caring about my own being, because at the end of the day, like, the children are going to leave the nest and they have to learn how to take care of themselves, and children learn through example. And if I want to set up the next generation with spiritual knowledge, then I need to do everything I can to take care of myself. It sounds so simple, but if you struggle with mental exhaustion, depression, or if you struggle with any sort of anxiety, it might seem you might need this reminder that you are people too, you matter, and it's very important for you to take care of yourself. This next thing is very specific to me, and so I hope it's relatable, but if it's not, this is one of the biggest lessons that I had to learn, was that it doesn't matter what platform or what vehicle you decide to do something in, as long as you're continuously doing something towards your goals, that's all that matters. Life is not perfect, and there are going to be times where you might not be the most consistent about your goals. It doesn't matter what vehicle you do something in, as long as you're consistently doing something small. That's what matters. Like, you can't really fail at anything, right? A lot of people will say, like, well, you fail when you quit. But my version of failure is just consistently trying, consistently recognizing, even if I'm not trying, that I'm not trying. It's consistently reflecting, and therefore I cannot fail. And since this Atma is ever pervasive, know that we can go through these cycles. We know that we're constantly in this loop of of cyclical nature. Our past lives are so immeasurable. Like, we've been here for a countless amount of past lives, an unfathomable amount of past lives, that failure is not really a concept if you follow Sanatana Dharma. Movement is always happening. God is always with you. And I sort of just want to take the word failure out of my vocabulary, out of, like, at least failure as we know it, out of my vocabulary, because it's irrelevant. Like, me measuring my own success is not going to be a true measurement anyway, because it's biased. And considering that I might not have the best view of my life because I only know from this point on and previous, and even that is like questionable because it's coming from my own perspective. Like, my whole goal on this planet is to just keep going and be as present as possible. I have an action that I'm doing right now. Be completely present in this action. And that's all you can do. And so I try to make every present moment worthwhile by being present, by like not, going into my mind and having all of these different thoughts. Be excited about something. Look forward to things. Look forward to your goals. Be excited about your goals. Otherwise, what is the point? Your happiness matters. Why are we so addicted to suffering? I don't know. I understand that anxiety, anger, pain, happiness, excitement, these are all fleeting. But the happiness that we can get from even experiencing anger is a pretty invaluable experience. Like, when you're really upset about something, if you can find joy in the fact that you are a human being experiencing these vast emotions, that's pretty cool. Like, you're able to compound multiple things. And I find that when I'm able to feel joy for even being upset about something, I'm able to resolve that pretty quickly and connect to God very quickly. Like, that to me is the whole point, is to just be able to like understand what's happening here. Like, my body is experiencing all these emotions, my soul isn't. And if I can take the perspective of my soul as much as possible, that will allow me to connect with God further. God is always talking to you, and so it's important to try to listen as much as possible. She's always speaking. It's extremely difficult to hear God's messages if you are not used to paying attention. You start to pay attention by talking to yourself first. I cannot connect with God if I don't even know what I'm connecting to. So learning about God's characteristics, I am coming off of like just finishing chapter 10 in Bhagavad Gita class, so I think that has a lot of influence on what I'm saying here. Like, taking this perspective of Bhakti Yogam has been a very difficult thing for me. I understood Karma Yogam pretty well. I understood Jnana Yogam, at least on paper, pretty well. Bhakti Yogam, in practice, I think is very difficult from my own perspective. And maybe that's what's informing a lot of what I'm saying here. But I find that when I'm able to connect with myself and when I'm able to understand myself, I'm able to understand God a lot more. And so that's why I try to pay a lot of attention on my own spirituality. Like, I'm able to understand creation a little bit better only when I'm able to understand myself. Therefore, when I understand his creations, I can understand him or her. And it helps a lot. If you journal every day, meditate every day, same advice as always: journal, meditation, praying, reading scripture, like all of these things help me understand God, but they also help me understand me. And that has built a pretty strong foundation on what I deem my spiritual practice to be. Spiritual practices, I don't like to look at that as like a productivity measure. I like to look at it as just my interaction with God, and I never want to put like a metric on that. So I just try to speak to God every single day, and I feel like I'm understanding now how often God speaks to us, and he speaks to us in great moments and in not so great moments and middle of the road moments. And it's our job to listen because he's so graciously speaking to us all the time. When you're encountering difficulties, sometimes we have tunnel vision and we're not able to see the greater purpose to things. And maybe we're not meant to. Maybe we're meant to just go through the difficult times and feel it out and experience it. But when we have the capacity to learn the lessons from it, I think we should take a moment to figure out why we were put in difficult situations. Our soul chose to come back here because it still contained desires, had karma that it still had to expel. So in ways, the soul decided to come back here. At least that's my current perspective. And I sometimes, when I'm encountering a lot of difficulties or stacked difficulties where it's like hard day after disgusting day after terrible day, I'm like, what am I needing to learn here? I clearly wanted to come back here. Why? What was I supposed to learn? And I take a second to realize, oh, okay, maybe I'm supposed to learn blank. And I think it's one thing to recognize it, it's another thing to implement it and to start to pivot your life. And I think I feel like I'm supposed to learn to not attach myself to difficulties and to find community and to be okay with the journey of that. Like, I can be a very goal-oriented person. Like, I am only happy when I have achieved my goal. And lately, I've been forced to realize that the journey is as important, if not more important, than the destination. Like, if you think about the shape of a mountain, like the journey up the mountain takes a lot of time, the journey down the mountain takes a lot of time, but reaching the top of the mountain is pretty momentary. We chase this like dopamine to get to the top or get to the peak of some sort of accomplishment, but we don't take care of ourselves on the way up, and we really don't take care of ourselves on the way down. So it's like when I'm climbing a mountain, like I'll be like, okay, wow, like I'm learning, I'm gaining things, I'm really looking forward to reaching my goal. But then after that goal is achieved, then what? And it's as important to take care of yourself on the way down from the mountain as you took care of yourselves on the way up. And reaching the bottom of the summit is just as beautiful of an experience, because look at how much you've learned. So that has been pretty pivotal to me. And learning that, understanding that, grasping that, and then implementing that has been a really great experience, because it brought me to even film today. It brought me to a perspective where it was like, okay, I'm putting myself in victim mode consistently because I reached a goal and now I don't know what to do next. I'm feeling really like my self-worth is at an all-time low. Not to quote Dochi, but kind of. I don't want to stay here. I want to keep moving forward. In the manifestation community, I just want to preface a little bit. We use like these words and they kind of stick and they have like new meaning. And to me, movement is one of those words. When we're manifesting something, consciously manifesting something, we go into our mind and we declare this goal that we want. We start affirming for it, we meditate for it, we journal for it, we purge out all of our limiting beliefs, we gain new beliefs, and it's this really beautiful process. And in the midst of that, we can sort of feel like, well, there's nothing happening outside of me. The thing that I want to be manifested, it's not happening. But there's this little voice in my head that says, well, movement is always occurring. And it goes back to everything that we've talked about so far. If you feel like you're not making progress towards your goals, or you're looking at your life and you're like, I've achieved nothing, or you're making these really declarative statements about, you not being happy with where you're at, I want you to take a second to remember that every single thing brought you to this moment to even realize that maybe you're not where you want to be, and that is valuable information. It's valuable information to understand contrast. The contrast of, I like this and I don't like this. If you're in your early 20s, I think it's difficult to realize what you really like and what you don't like. It takes a lot of kind of courage to stand up on your own 2 feet and say, I want this out of my life. And it can take a long time to realize that. If you feel like you're behind, I want you to remember that movement towards your goals is always, always, always occurring. You have to train your brain to see it that way. It's not going to happen on its own. Inspired action can only occur when you take action. You have to work towards something. And I think it's important to just remember, and this is not to add pressure to you, but it's to take a second to remember why you're here. You're here to learn. So, and I don't even think that you need to set like big goals. Look at the life that you have right now, figure out what you want changed, and take one tiny little step towards it. Like, I like to use going to the gym as an example because I feel like it's the simplest thing to sort of break down. But like, if I wanted to go to the gym every day, my only job today is to get changed and to put on my shoes and to walk towards the door. That's the only thing that I have to accomplish. I don't actually have to go to the gym. I just have to get myself into the mindset to put my shoes on. And then you do that for a week. Let's say you put your shoes on and you sit back down on the couch. That's okay. Okay, just keep doing that. Just put your shoes on. That's all you have to do. After a certain amount of time, you'll be like, okay, well, I already have my shoes on. I might as well just go to the gym. So you walk out the door. Congratulations. Next milestone. And then now you go to the gym. And maybe you're there for 5 minutes. You come back home. Congratulations. You don't need to shame yourself that you were only there for 5 minutes. You went to the gym. Check. You did it. And then you slowly increase. And that can take as much time as you need. Don't shame yourself throughout the process of you growing. You're growing. Like, as a kid, are you really going to be mad at yourself if you didn't grow 1 inch every year? You didn't even know. You didn't even know what was happening. You just knew that you were growing. And that's the perspective that we need to have. We as adults, I think we're still children cosplaying as adults. All right? I think we're children until the day we die. We are always learning. We are always growing. And you can't shame yourself for how your growth looks. If it's slow, it's slow. If it's fast, it's fast. That's all relative to your perspective anyway. So is it really a true and accurate observation? Take yourself out of you for a second and realize that your perspective is literally just a lens. It's not real. We don't even know what real is. Like, we say the words in reality. I say that all the time. But what is reality? I don't know. I can't answer that question. Is reality objective? Is reality what God's reality is? Is reality the dimensionality? What is reality? I don't know, because I'm so fixated on my own sunglasses, my own glasses, my own lens, my own perspective. So if I don't even know what reality is, and I'm living life through my own perspective, do I get to make an accurate assessment on how I'm doing? No, forget it. It's important to reflect and learn lessons, yes. But recognize that when you are shaming yourself, or when you're anxious about something, or when you're, beating yourself up about something, that you're only doing that from your own perspective. It's not an accurate assessment. That's not self-awareness. Self-awareness is not only seeing yourself in the negative times. Self-awareness is understanding who you really are. And that can't only be negative. It's not possible. When I'm really mean to myself, I say, would I like it if my mom said all those words about herself? No. So why am I saying it to me? Thank you for, there was a day that I actually crashed out, and I posted on my Instagram story, and I was like, I want to quit social media. And a lot of you came to me and said the nicest things, and I was like, this isn't even about me. This is I need to record all of these little moments, because I think it's helpful when someone who looks like you can talk about mental health. And I know that I have the vast majority of you are Indian, I think. And I think maybe we all just need to feel seen. And maybe I lacked that, and I wasn't giving myself that. And I really just wanted to quit social media. Those were real feelings. I have been saying, I quit social media. I want to quit. I'm done with this. I can't do this anymore. Repeatedly over 2024. I still persevered. I still posted. And I found joy in being on here. But I'm not going to lie. It's hard. And it's hard to put yourself out there, especially talking about spirituality, which is not a popular topic. It's popular to the people that like it. But that's all I have for you. I finished my notes, and I'm sitting here playing with my nails. Let's do an ASMR movement. Actually, I think it's... Here is a close-up of my nails. I'm obsessed. Makes me feel like I am a witch. And I am a witch. Anywho, thank you so much for being here. I've got a lot of really cool videos coming out, so stay tuned. And yeah, thanks for your patience. I will talk to you soon. Bye.